So we want to get the user's profile. So in the auth service, in the constructor, when the user successfully logs in, we store the token in the local storage, and then we call this .lock.getUserInfo. Now, unfortunately here we don't have IntelliSense. The first argument to this method is our access token. So authResult.accessToken. And the second argument is a callback function with two parameters, error and profile. So that goes to a code block. Now, if we do have an error, we want to throw it so it will be caught by our global error handler, and then it will be logged and will display it toasted to the user. Otherwise, we want to store this profile in the local storage. So local storage that set item, the first argument is the key, so profile, and the second argument is the value. So here we need to convert this profile object, which is a JSON object, to a string, because we cannot store a JSON object in the local storage. We can only store simple values, numbers, strings, booleans. So JSON.stringify, and we give it this profile object. Now, I'm also going to declare a field in this class. So profile of type any. Now, of course, in the future, we can declare a model so we can properly type this. For now, let's not worry about this. Now, back here, once we store this in the local storage, we also set this.profile to this profile object. Now, next time our application restarts, maybe when we refresh a page, chances are we already have this profile stored in the local storage. So in the constructor, we want to get this profile from the local storage and set this.profile field. So this.profile, we set it to JSON.parse, and now we get it from the local storage. So local storage .get item profile. Okay, now let's try it. So I'm going to log out and log in one more time so we get the profile. All right, now let's take a look at the local storage. So here's our profile. Note that this profile object has only one property, which is sub, or the user ID. What if I want to have the user's email here as well? Maybe I want to display it in the navigation bar. Then we need to specifically ask for this. So back in jwt.io, here's the token that we received from the server. Note this scope property. The value of this is OpenID. When we set the scope to OpenID, we get some basic attributes. That includes the issuer, the audience, and the expiration. If you want the email, you need to specifically ask for it. So now we need to go back to our hosted page where we're configuring the lock object. In the params object, I'm going to add the scope property and set this to OpenID and email. So with this, we're telling Auth0, whenever you're going to issue a token, also include the user's email in that token. Let's try it. So save. Now back here, I'm going to log out and log in one more time. All right, we have changed the scope. Now the consent dialog is asking the user if Vega is allowed to access their email. Once again, this consent dialog doesn't make sense when you're in the context of one application. So for now, let's not worry about this and just approve this. All right, now let's take a look at the profile object. So back in the local storage, here's our profile object, which has more properties, but it's a little bit hard to read it here. So I want to log it in the console. So back in the auth service in the constructor, when we load this profile, we also want to log it in the console. All right, let's try it. So back here, refresh. Now look at this profile object in the console. So we have two new properties, email and email underline verified, which is false by default. Now it's something you can configure on Auth0. You can set up an email verification step. But again, that's something you need to do on your own. It's beyond the scope of this section. because here we just want to focus on the big picture. So now let's remove this console.log for the profile object. Now in the logout method, when the user logs out, we also should remove this profile object from the local storage. So local storage.remove item profile. And we also set this.profile to null. Next, I'm going to show you how to add additional fields in the registration form.